You ever have those days in the spring where it seems like you just really struggle? Well, I know I have, probably a lot of you have as well, and I'll tell you a story at the end of the video about what happened to me yesterday with some serious struggling. Well, one of the most important factors that we can consider when spring bass fishing has to deal with expansion or expanding that area. For the last several weeks, I have noticed that the bass are just not grouped up in schools very tightly. They are not quite just singles. I mean, when I look at one here in the camera, yeah, it looks like there's just one bass here. But if I expand out to an area, there may be 2 or 3, and it seems like no matter where I go, this is what's going on. If I find one, then I can go ahead and expand my search a little bit, and I will find 2 or 3 more. They're not just grouped up tight. Well, what this can do when we're trying to fish this time of year is if we're lucky enough to get a bite to catch one, it is super easy to catch only that one. And by expanding, in this particular situation, this was on a point, I needed to spread out almost 10 yards in either direction of the first fish that I saw. So this one point where I first found bass, I needed to overall expand about 20 yards. And that varies from day to day, but when you think about it, it's real easy not to check that far. We may check a visible target and then expand out just a little bit deeper water in front of it or off to the sides. We do that pretty well. But as far as expanding in these do-nothing types of areas, in the springtime, bass like to get on do-nothing banks. Like if you look at this point here, to our eye, it looks like these fish are relating to absolutely nothing. I mean, clearly they are, whether it's the slope of the bank or something else going on. There's something here that's holding the fish, but to the casual observer, it's real easy to assume that there's just nothing right here. So we overlook these types of areas, whether they're visually, we overlook these do-nothing types of areas, or if you're using graphs and electronics and you're scanning bottom contours, when you scan this area, it just looks very blah, like there's nothing that would be there, but yet there were fish here. Now, when it comes to actually fishing with our lures, when we're trying to do this, expanding out an area, we've really got to think about searching as fast as we can, but as slow as we can. And I know it sounds like that's two opposite ends of the spectrum, but we've got to try to cover water as quickly as we can, but slowly. These fish lately, at least around here, have not been in one of those moods where they're very aggressive and want to go chase. They're still kind of lethargic. So some presentations that could work for this, when I think about searching as fast as I can, as slow as I can, I often refer to dragging something. And for you, this could be just a wide range of lures. It could be dragging a shaky head. It could be dragging a Carolina rig, a jig, whatever it might be. But I'm dragging, so I'm covering water, not trying to cover it too quickly, but I am covering water. I'm just not fishing, soaking one particular spot. And then when I do get a bite, I do find a fish, I do catch a fish, well, that tells me, okay, I need to work this area over carefully, because in the springtime, it's super easy to be fishing dead water. You can go into an area like what's right here behind me. I was just filming here a little bit ago. Zippo fish. I spent a lot of time filming underwater here this morning. Could not find a single bass in this area. As a matter of fact, there were hardly any panfish, and that happens in the spring. It's like one area one day is just gangbusters. That same spot the next day, there's nothing. Now, as far as my other struggles in the spring, yesterday was just an awful day for me. I was trying to fish some waters I had never fished before, and there's a bunch of small lakes in this particular area. And because it's smaller lakes, some of them 30, 40 acres, boat ramps are not often that great. They could be just busted up concrete, gravel, whatever. And I was having a hard time finding a ramp to get the boat in. Finally, I found one, but it was a long gravel ramp that kind of curved down to the water. And I was backing down there, got the boat in, and to park my truck and trailer seemed like it was 6 days away. So I get way back up there and I park it and I lock the truck up. And then it hits me, oh my gosh, I didn't put the plug in. So I run all the way back down this super long ramp, dive in over the back, get the plug in there, turn the bilge in, the boat's sitting like this in the water. Couldn't believe it. Had to go back up, back the trailer back down, get the boat back on it, pull the plug, drain the water. I mean, just a disaster. But here's the part that makes it even worse, or in my case, more embarrassing. There was 2 game wardens there watching all of this happen. And here I am running back and forth with my life jacket on, up to the truck, back down to the boat, back up to the truck, back to the boat. It was just a disaster. And they looked at me like, man alive, holy cow, what a mess. So I know we all have struggles in the spring. That was mine yesterday. And hey, if you want to watch a video that talks about great lures, my favorite lures for April bass fishing, when those fish start to really push up their shallows in big part of the country, go ahead and check this one out right here, and make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.